Hello, BookTube. I want to make a quick follow-up video to the end of our epic trollop read-along, Can You Forgive Steve Donahue, in which I talk a little about our next one, because our next read-along starts next week. We've done this one all the way to the end of the month, so May's read-along is going to be the 4 Gospels, and I wanted to make a separate video because, in one sense, it's an unorthodox read-along because the first thing we're going to do, the thing we're going to talk about next Sunday, is an entire book. It's the Gospel according to St. Matthew. So we're not doing that in parts. We're doing the whole thing. So those of you who want to do this, between now and then, you have to read the Gospel according to St. Matthew. It's not hard. It's 20 minutes work. And the second thing is something that a lot of you have emailed me about, expressing doubt that you can do, which is the thing we mentioned when I originally announced this, the separating of the Gospel according to St. Matthew from all of its cultural and religious baggage. So we're going to read this as a book. And I've had emails and texts from quite a few of you saying, I'd love to join in, but I can't do it. This is poisonous material for me. This is irrevocably freighted material for me. There's no way I'm going to be able to do it. And I want to stress, I don't want to lose any of you for this. I want to stress that you can do this. I've done this many, many times before, talking about these books this way, including in Bible studies, where I just told everybody ahead of time, this is not going to be about a document of your faith. And nothing that we say here should affect your faith one way or another. It's been my experience. I've done this in Texas, I've done this in Boston, I've done this in Southern California. So across the whole spectrum of general population per capita belief. And it's been my experience that readers tend to be stronger than they sometimes give themselves credit in terms of complexity and multiplicity and that mental step back from the material that allows you to think about it critically, evaluatively. I firmly believe that we can do this. What we're going to do, this ties in directly to questions that I've had about what translation we're using. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. This is the most translated, most popular, most disseminated work that there is anywhere. So you will have access to some translation. So the axiom that I would suggest is the same one I've suggested in all other translations. For instance, when we were doing the Western Canon Starter Kit, which is if you have access at a library or wherever to a few different translations, try a few and pick the one you like. We're not going to stress minute translational differences because that way is the route towards gotcha. And this is not gotcha. We are not going to be stressing textual verification, textual age. We're not going to be stressing contradictions between the Gospels because all of that is designed to attack these things as documents of faith, and we're not even going to consider them as documents of faith. Instead, we're just going to consider them as narratives. First century narratives that just come to us. So it's an exercise, and I think once you've tried it a few times, you'll find it fun. Even if you do believe these things, even if they are pillars of your faith, I still think you'll find the exercise fun, especially since it doesn't need to threaten your faith at all. The exercise is to pretend you know nothing about these. Pretend that the massive world that they have created, that we've all lived in, doesn't exist. And that you're looking at just, like I said, just a recently discovered, previously unknown play of Euripides. And what do you make of it? What sticks in your mind? What is effectively done? What's confusing? Now, this approach has built-in limits. I know this because, of course, the Gospels aren't, Matthew, for instance, especially the Gospel that we're starting with, Matthew and Mark, are writing what could almost be called counter-arguments rather than standalone narratives. They themselves are not writing a book as if it were standing alone in a field. They themselves have a lot of response in mind. And we'll go through some of that as we go along. But if you hadn't been able to read these things just as texts, I'm not sure they would have survived. even grafted onto a religion the way they were, onto a power structure the way they were. One way or another, we can talk all about it during the first read-along, and I believe it will get easier to do after that. But I wanted to make a video to say, first of all, there are no increments here, right? Each Sunday is going to be a whole gospel. So that's the reading. It's not like we're going to do part of Matthew and then stop, discuss that, and then move on to another part of Matthew. We could easily do that for a year. We could talk about Matthew for a year, but we're not going to do that. So next Sunday will be the Gospel according to St. Matthew. And the second thing I wanted to stress is that you can do this. We are going to read these as texts and see what we make of them. And that's it. I wanted to just give a quick clarifying announcement that's what we're going to do next. We'll do Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in that order, and then we'll leap right onto the Iliad. But anyway, I will wrap this up for now, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.